In this video, we are going to cover the Lab Monitor module. This allows us to view information reported by connected machines. There's a few topics that we're going to go over today. Those are current status, aggregate status, status timeline, and status messages. To begin, I'm going to click on the Lab Monitor module. And when I land here on the home page, I can display charts that I have saved as a favorite view in the past. By clicking the Labs button, this is going to bring up all of the laboratories and the efficiency reports that have been set up for them. So as you can see, we have many different laboratories set up for our internal testing groups. So if we continue exploring in our Lab Monitor submenu system here, I'm going to go to current status. And clicking current status is going to provide information on the machine status of all connected equipment inside of each laboratory that I have access to. Currently we are looking at our Brazil lab, and we're looking at a couple of different types of equipment. We have chase machines, compress, we have dynamometers, and we can see that we are in different machine states in each one of these. Sort of look through our different laboratories. Notice that we have lots of different types of equipment to look at, and we can get a quick sort of status at a glance. Now if you're interested to do some filtering here, I could filter by commercial vehicle. I could look at all machines that are currently faulted. So there's a lot of different things that we can do here. It's also important to mention that the display messages that we are seeing here, this is customizable as well. So we do have the opportunity to expand this and get some additional information, as well as we can change what is displayed during a current status update. So current status is how we look at equipment live to get an at-a-glance view of that equipment. We also have current location, which currently I don't have any portable data acquisition systems that are out reporting GPS locations. When those are, we can actually track vehicles' position using Google Maps. But moving on next, we're going to go to aggregate status. And aggregate status is going to give us a way to look at historical data on machine status. So we can look at uptime and downtime codes and understand better how our equipment is being utilized. So to do this, over on the right side of the screen, I'm going to click under machines, and then from here I can select a single machine, I can select multiple machines, I can do something as easy as selecting all. If I select all, you'll notice that there are a very large number of machines. Then I want to choose how long do I want to go backwards in time to look at data. So I can go from today, yesterday. There's lots of different options here. I'm going to pick this year, and I'm going to group the data by time span, and I'm going to show in percent with a 75% utilization target. Now here I'm going to go ahead and save a search, and I'm going to name this demo save search. I'm going to click the search button, and this is going to provide information up to the minute on every piece of equipment that I selected here for the entire year. So as we look at this now, we have a breakdown essentially of every single day, and we have our major categories, sort of green here being running or build up. We have some things in red like no staff, maintenance. In black we have no work. Just clicking on these in the legend will remove them to make it a little bit easier to see. Here we can see our efficiency target of 75%. Got start and end dates here. So if we were to go back, maybe make some modifications to this search, and let's just look at last month, for example. Now again, this is going to give me this information based upon every single piece of equipment that we have. Something else I might be interested to do instead of spanning by day would be to span by machine. So now I'm going to get similar information but created completely differently. And now that we're looking at this entire time period, then each bar that we see is going to be a specific piece of equipment. So a biaxial machine here, we can see, was running 76.54% of the time. And again, this is all calculated and is constantly updating as machine status updates. So we're always looking at information that is essentially up to the minute. Moving on to the next topic under Lab Monitor, we're going to go to Status Timeline. Over on the right side of the screen, this is where I would select the machines that I'm interested to look at the status timeline on. So to narrow this down, let's just pull up NVH dynos. And I'm going to do just a small subset of those. And I want to retrieve data from this week. I'll click the search button. When I do that, that's going to give me horizontally on these rows here. Each row is its own dynamometer, so NVH dyno 5899, for example. And then I'm looking at the start of the week, which is Sunday in our case, up through where we are right now, Monday afternoon. And I can quickly jump around and go backwards in time further and look at last week's data. And I can go further than that. So this will give us when the machine is up, when the machine is down. It's going to tell us status messages that we see here. We have the ability to put in dividers. So for example, if a shift change happens at 7 o'clock in the morning, we could look at what our machines are doing surrounding this time. This might help us to better plan our shifts for our technicians that are working on the equipment. Then bringing up the status timeline of a different piece of equipment shows a place where we have a downtime code that was overridden, and then there's a corresponding date and time and when that was overridden, what it was changed from, and what it was changed to. So our initial message that went down when the machine stopped was no staff, and that was later overridden to reflect a different downtime code of no work. So meaning that the machine was not sitting because we don't have people available to work on it, but that there was no additional work lined up on that piece of equipment. And we can see that by clicking on any of these different bars inside of the status timeline messages. So also in our Lab Monitor module, last but not least, would be status messages. Status messages we can look at on an individual machine basis. We can pull in data from a single day, multiple days. So I'll bring in data starting with yesterday. What that's going to do is give me every single time the machine status was updated for this machine. It's going to provide a record of that. So you'll see that mostly during the day here it was in a state of running, but then it does highlight any time that it went down and had a downtime code. Idle or needs attention in this specific instance. Folks that have the proper clearance to do so can override downtime codes here. So for example, staff night being available is what the current downtime code is. If for some reason that is not accurate, a supervisor with the proper privileges could override this, and it will save the new entry, change the downtime code potentially to an uptime code depending upon the circumstances, as well as making a record of that change happening. This concludes our demonstration video on the Lab Monitor module.